professional play. We talked about the mind games of him using chat even in-game, using drop ships before anybody else, getting the extra value. And this player, his opponent, is most famous for getting second place. The nickname Kong, and people say the Kong line. You think of players in StarCraft 2 like Marine King and Sue. This is the original Kong. This is the player who made so many finals, more than are listed here, but always came up second place.
I do look forward to this. YellOw, he knows how to stop bunker rushes, but BoxeR was the first person to really show us that you can exploit control to this level that's almost comical. So, assuming we see a bunker rush just to get this out of the way early on, the Zerg has to use the majority of his drones to stop it. And the Terran will send some SCVs with that, but keep in mind, you know, you lose too many SCVs in that rush or you proxy too far out. Well, the Zerg holds it. The Zerg's probably going to win later on. Yeah,
you pull all the SCVs. That's what we call an all-in. You either win or you lose in that moment. Such an economic advantage if you kill the hatchery, you can pull your SCVs back, but we rarely even see anything beyond that first engage. You very rarely see the transition. It's all or nothing. It's a short game if we see it. But we're jumping into game number 1, guys, right here, right now. It's the Remaster launch, GG together with myself and Tasteless.
Esports necromancy.
Here we are. We're going to Fighting Spirit, by the way. One of the most famous maps to this day. But Tasteless, introduce the players.
Alrighty, in the upper right, in the blue is Slayer's BoxeR. And by the way, we have, in this game, we have the effects turned on, so you can see some of the, I'm probably going to butcher this, like 3D lighting?
Yeah, it's lighting.
The way the lighting's worked. So this is a cool upgrade they had here, which you can use when you're playing StarCraft Remastered. In the bottom right is YellOw, his opponent.
Yeah, we talked about the modes you could do with the new game, and you know, you and I have had the pleasure of actually playing it and messing around with it. You press F5, when we're talking about how easy it is, you press F5 to make it widescreen. You can put it back to standard definition graphics of the 4.3. But I believe it's F7 you press, which opens up these cool lighting effects, and it just makes the game have an extra detail it never had before. As you can see, the SCVs, little thrusters as they return the minerals back and forth. And we talked about how BoxeR was the player who kind of defined early rushes, doing dropship strategies. He was kind of a pain for a lot of players to deal with because he had so many strategies. He was so popular in Pro League. But he's also the first icon of StarCraft. He's the player who was the legend, who got the big sponsorship. He was the first StarCraft player who was on billboards across the city. He still is today, and many people consider him to be the father of esports and the first real legend that people looked up to as a player.
Okay, so we're definitely most likely going to have a bunker rush. There is the option for Terran to try to fast expand with this, but just because he's putting this here and it's Slayer's BoxeR, I'm going to go out on a limb here and deduce that it's probably going to be a bunker rush. With YellOw here now going for hatch first, this could be favorable for him. I just want to point out real quickly here, guys, this new observer interface is so cool. StarCraft 1 was so old, they didn't have an observer feature initially. In fact, if Terran couldn't have lifted off the command center, we wouldn't have been able to spec games.
Yeah, wouldn't have had esports as we know it.
The way they started when the game was televised is they'd have a third player in the game who's Terran, who lifts off and hides his SCVs. Then both players give him vision, and the game continues.
Yeah.
And I'm sorry if I sound like an old person here. Like, back in my day, we didn't watch TV. We just stared at the flames in the fireplace. But that's how it was back then, guys. So this is very cool to have this here now.
Yeah. All right, second SCV coming out here. Going to try to deny the drone. We'll be able to do it with the depot. But it is going to be a tight wall here. So looks like he wants to expand behind this.
Yeah, I think he still might make a bunker.
Sure.
Oh, no, you know what? I might be totally wrong here, guys. Let's see. The Marine's coming out now. Now, this may just be a feigned pressure build. We'll know how much he's committing to by how many SCVs he sends. Sometimes you see 2 bunkers planted down
and
here.
Look at this, even the respect from YellOw. He knows he pulls 2 drones immediately. And even if you just start a bunker, it can force a reaction like this. Drones off the line, so much more drones here pulled here for YellOw than are for BoxeR, so he gets an economic disadvantage as a result, and this bunker, of course, can always be canceled, so he's just going to back away. And this is one way you bunker rush. You don't commit. It's not the all-in version where you pull a ton of SCVs. It's just a few here, just the 2. Gets the cancel, gets most of the money back, and now he can transition back at home to the CC. He has the factory tech available as well.
Yeah, this is kind of cool because it looks initially like it's a pretty aggressive bunker rush, but the Terran can safely retreat. And what the Terran's doing now is teching up here to a factory. If I was a Zerg player, I would have assumed there's a command center being planted down here behind this. But to get the quick gas is quite interesting. This may throw YellOw off. Sometimes in StarCraft, the Zerg has to constantly react. and monitor what his opponent's doing until the Zerg can take a certain form based off the tech they've acquired, the macro engine they've worked up to then begin to punish the other player. And especially in a TvZ, that can start very early on. But every time Terran takes a risk or deviates from the norm, and a lot of more Terran players have a more orthodox approach to this matchup, the Zerg can end up very much so ahead.
Yeah. And well, right now, you know, we see the tech in the main base. We don't see the CC coming up just yet. He can, of course, add that later, but there's just no vision here for YellOw. He didn't want to send Overlords out early because he knew it might be that heavy commitment to Marines and a bunker rush, so his Overlords could have gotten caught on rally. He just doesn't have a lot of vision. As you can see on the minimap, StarCraft is a game of limited information, and it's dark there on the right side because he just simply doesn't know what is coming. This is going to be the first real double check here with it looks like just a Zergling coming across the map to see what he can find, but there's just no way he can know if there's a command center there, a starport, or hell, could be 2 starports in the main base, could be an all-in follow-up here from BoxeR. There's just no way he knows, so he has to play carefully here. He's even adding that layer right now. And there's no CC, just going to be the tech follow-up here, just the single starport, and in fact, that machine shop is researching.
Yeah, let's see what exactly he goes for here. The fact of the matter is this is not a standard approach to a TvZ. So BoxeR's trying to play at him, whether it was the meta of the past or the meta of now. This is not what you normally see here. And if you could throw off a player like this, for instance, getting vultures here with spider mines, I'm assuming, or vultures with speed can also be viable, and dropping them, the Terran may perhaps be assuming there's going to be a push, and therefore his main is absolutely safe. Speed vultures can outrun Lings forever, as long as they have enough surface area to maneuver around. And with a layer tech on the way here, this may heavily punish YellOw, who is only just now going to find out that there's not been a command center at that expansion all along.
Yeah, it's going to be this first glimpse of it. This is making a Hydrogen and a Spire here, so both forms of tech. And 2 Vultures out now, and no research here, of course, on the control tower. You might even see the Vultures go out for a poke, then later get dropped, as he is going to lift this this barracks here and send the Vultures across the map with speed. So, going to come over here and look for some harass. But again, YellOw's been playing safe all game. He pulled the drones early. He's going to find these Vultures. Now, this is going to be a good trade here, but this is the dropship follow-up I was talking about. The Sunken makes it impossible to attack the front directly, but the dropship will make it possible. Remember, we were talking about this from the beginning. BoxeR was one of the first players to actually do this. He's going to do it again with that dropship. He's going to look for massive drone damage in the main base.
Now, time is critical. He has to get inside the main right away and take out as many workers as possible. The Spire is on the way. We have 1 drone coming out here to make a 3rd hatchery, although that's not as impactful as what's about to happen next here. These Lings are not in position in time, and with 3 Vultures here in the main, this is going to be tough as long as BoxeR can control these Vultures properly.
Ooh, actually messes that one up, but gets another one. The 4th one actually unloaded here, so you were correct. It was the 4, but not all in the same location, forcing the split defense here from YellOw. Several drones have been killed. Needs to get the dropship back over here to get the Vultures if he plans on saving them. Looks like he just wants to sack them here and trade for drones, which is obviously going to be an advantage for the Terran. These Vultures are so cheap at 75 minerals a pop. This is amazing right now for BoxeR, the damage he's been able to do.
I am concerned, though, with the overall tech pattern that Terran's gone for here, that he might end up getting punished later on. With Hydras, as well as Mutas we see just now hatching, what does Terran actually have at home? And with the dropship out of the game, what other options really are there? It looks like he's scrambling to get some defense up here, but he doesn't have anything in time.
Yeah,
and YellOw, I think, may punish BoxeR here and end up taking a win.
He has a few Marines, right? He's going to have this ragtag group of units. He's going to try to get the first Goliath out. The eBay isn't ready yet for the shells. He has 1 Valkyrie and no micro here on the Mutas. The splash damage is real, and they're going to be forced away, so he's saved this up for now. That was the most dangerous moment with the heavy commitment of gas to the Mutas for BoxeR, and with that tiny ragtag group of units, he survives the worst, but it's not over yet. Now desperately trying to get up a missile turret here, and that first Goliath. Stim's on the way.
He's going to come in here with a Scourge and try to hit the Valkyrie, and it works! And therefore, there's probably not enough on the ground here for the Terran.
Second Valkyrie, though, he needs to micro those Mutas, and the turret is almost ready, and yet again he's pushed away. Killing the Valkyrie was the most important part. But that natural, it's mining. He's not using the mobility of the Mutas to try to harass 2 fronts because of that Valkyrie, but there's a turret up here now. Can't find much else, and he went for the kill instead of the economic damage, which means BoxeR can now try to recover. He has Stim on the way, and the Bioforce is getting larger by the moment here. May even have a Goliath out here in just a moment to help stave off the next attack.
Okay, I think even if he gets the Valkyrie here, he might end up with another Valkyrie popping out. Now, the turret's there, but the mutas do not have to engage. And in fact, they're going to be taking out a lot of these SCVs.
Second Valkyrie here. Again, it's about the micro. Using the Scourge at the front here. BoxeR has to be very careful with how he pokes this down. Oh, the bait is real.
That was great control. I can't believe he actually kept that alive.
It's insane. He almost actually lost it there, but looked to get the greedy kill onto those Scourge. And YellOw has taken this hidden third base. This is common, of course, for the Zerg to take a base to the bottom left. It's hidden per se, but it's what BoxeR's going to be expecting in terms of third bases going on till later stages of this game.
Okay, YellOw may be a little bit too ambitious here. With the Valkyries actually out, 2 of them. By the way, the Valkyrie is a very difficult unit to control. There were whole periods in the StarCraft 1 meta historically where it wasn't really used because it is a buggier unit. But hold up, he was safe from the air, but what about the ground? The Lynx can now spill through here. The Muta's going for the kill move here on the tank.
Okay, he needs that tank. He doesn't have siege mode yet, it doesn't look like here. He has the comsat scanners, but this is not a tight wall. Link stream through. He's looking for the siege tank. Doesn't find it here. That's the crux of this defense, along with that comsat scanner here. Medic's buying some more time. He needs that siege mode desperately to repair here, but just a single SCV. He's going to save this off for now.
Now, is he going to try to leap forward here? I think he's hemorrhaging too many Zerglings. But let's see. There's a possible follow-up attack. Is he going to go for it?
He's going to go for it.
Here we go!
Turret's in position. He needs that siege mode. He doesn't have it yet. Stim is used on these Marines. Doesn't actually get into position. He's just trying to use the range of the siege tanks here. Great micro by YellOw, repositioning that first lurker.
Now
this going in.
The scanner is in the way here. If the turret's taken out and the scanner goes down, I don't believe he has a science vessel yet. At least we don't see it because we've been focused on Valkyries.
He needs a scan here. There it is. Siege mode is ready. Good micro here by YellOw. He saves every lurker. And now he's got the third base economy. This ended up being a pretty good trade for him. The follow-up attack is moving across the map, getting macro hatcheries up as well.
He's actually, he might be able to fish the Terran forward and then dive in with the next group of Lynx and Lurkers.
Needs to not lose any more of these, though. 3 more going down. He saved them initially. This is going to be an expensive cost here. Just wants to brute force it here. Siege tanks in the front lines, very vulnerable. Scans go down. Gets both the lurkers, though. And now he's just bleeding units at this point, Tasteless.
A pretty ambitious play there from YellOw. I see the idea behind it because of the wonky tech path there from Slayer's BoxeR. Even though there are threats woven in to that style of play from BoxeR, there's also an obvious lacking amount of core Terran units sometimes for these when you get to a certain point in the game. So Zerg can try to come in there and kill him, but with BoxeR's great control, he's basically weathered that storm, and he's now in a pretty comfortable position to continue to macro up. He has a decent number of barracks. He's making tanks. I'm assuming we're going to have science vessels in play coming up here.
The facility's on the way now, so he decided that he wanted to save his gas, so making sure he could get the siegemen out just in time, putting that gas into the siege tank defense. Science vessel is going to be completed soon, so we'll have that for detection. But let's not forget, even though the attacks have failed, the tech is moving forward for the Zerg as well. It's moving closer to those defilers, those dark swarms. He has lurkers, of course, on his ramp to the bottom left. And because this wasn't a 5 racks, more standard, more modern type of play from BoxeR, he doesn't have a large bioforce to even look to threaten that bird base right now. It's very small, as you can see here. So he's going to look to use drop ships instead of a brute force attack. The risk, of course, being the Scourge. That's why he sends the Valkyrie forward to make sure there's no Scourge in the way as he looks for this angle.
Okay, the drop ship is headed southbound now. Even if the Valkyrie goes down, it's more important that he keeps the drop ship alive. The Scourge are en route.
Good micro, he saves the drop ship and gets the Scourge. Doesn't want to commit to those second 2 Scourge either. Very well played by BoxeR.
BoxeR attempting to poke out here. Again, this is a 2-base Terran against now a 4-base powering Zerg. In this phase of the matchup, we eventually will have the Terran push out. The burden is not on the Zerg to end the game. You can see the Zerg's already got the Terran surrounded with Lings spread out everywhere. The Zerg will continue to gobble up expansions on the map, tech up to Defilers, which is the most important tech in this matchup, using Dark Swarm and ability. Oh, he's actually going to get Guardians here as well.
Looks like he wants to set up a contain. Look at the minimap. He's basically just fanning out all this anti-air, the Hydras, the Scourge. Doesn't want BoxeR to send any more drops across the map. Wants to contain him on 2-base. But it's tough to contain a Terran that now has vessels, has that massive bioforce, doesn't need to commit to drop ships. He has that brute force attack he can use. It's going to be about the Defilers to buy time here with the Dark Swarms to keep these bases alive. But you have to think that if this attack fails, definitely advantage YellOw moving forward.
Well, YellOw can do it. It's going to come down to the control. This is very tough. These guys have a lot of control groups selected. Oh my God, Beeline barely does not take out that Science Vessel. Tank's moving forward here. It looks like he's going to send some Lings in with this, and YellOw's going for the throw.
The Vessel's down here, but he just can't commit into this bio. Gets the Vessel at least with that brute force attack. They're just going to have to back off here and reposition the Lurkers. This drop gets away, meanwhile. He's going to try to find an angle.
He's going to go right through where the rally point is, and that means this dropship should not manage to land. Definitely a poor play there by Slayer's BoxeR. Slayer's BoxeR, though, continuing to push. The Terran has to play around the fact that Dark Swarms are a threat. The mini game that goes on here is you want to try to irradiate the Defilers. The Defilers then die off. You can't cast Dark Swarm. Meanwhile, the Zerg is trying to catch the Science Vessel with the Scourge to prevent the Science Vessels from irradiating the Defilers.
That's right. And even if the Defilers are in perfect position, you just use energy for free units, basically. You use the Irradiate to kill Lurkers. If you can get a big group of Lings, it's rare. You can at least use it to do that. If you have a large Science Vessel count, that's why it's important to constantly trade up as the Zerg. Take those vessels out with your cheap Scourge. They're faster to build. You get 2 from 1 larva. The Science Vessel is very expensive in gas, and it's also very slow to build. And now, YellOw's been able to take a 4th base down near the bottom. He has Nidus Network control, and now he's going to look for a fight here as well. In the middle of the map, no siege on these tanks. The Lurkers are going for broke.
Oh, the Irradiate was just a second too late, and that is gunned down. Keep in mind, anything that's ranged cannot deal damage inside the Darkstorm Cloud. BoxeR actually dives forward and pushes up here. Is he going to get sandwiched? We might see another Dark Swarm Cloud come down.
Yeah, it looks like he might want to set up with a flank with these Lings here, but he's getting very efficient trades, but running into this Lurker here, looks like it's just alone, so he will stim and push through. He avoided the Dark Swarms, and now this is a very vulnerable moment for YellOw, who doesn't have his Lurker set up. He's got 3 of them nearby. We'll buy some time with these. The ones on the left side, though, they're not burrowed. He could try to go for the surround, but they're just not in position. It's almost as if he's forgotten about them, Tasteless.
They see the Lings coming up here now. The Lurkers do burrow down, but I have to say, this is a pretty powerful position that Terran has.
Oh,
but with a really good surround!
He's going to have to run through these again, and now the Marines are just getting totally trashed here.
Well,
does have to scan.
You know, he's got just enough medics. It seems like YellOw's not quite doing the damage he needs to do, but he's regrouping. It seems like YellOw should have shut this down, but the second push is inbound here. I'm not clear on how many more Defilers the Zerg has at his disposal, but with a few more Dark Swarms, I think he can definitely hold this position.
This Vessel looks like it might want to try to go for a solo Eraser attack here, or maybe even just take out another Lurker. Maybe not enough energy, or he wants to just move back, keep it with his army, headed over there on rally. The unusual late-game Guardian here coming out. Don't see that as much in modern day. Sure, we saw it recently in the ASL, of course, over to Afrika, but we'll see if we can actually get some harass done. Meanwhile, this Zerg army's going to get trapped. The Guardian's now so much more important. Doesn't have the target here. He's got mostly medics with this army. In fact, it's not a lot of DPS,
yeah,
just the healing.
It's a flimsy army. The problem is if Guardians finish up here, and they are, there's no real easy answer for Terran, and that's the only mining location that Terran realistically has at this point in time. And if YellOw can continue to curb these pushes and slow it down, that's all he has to do.
Oh, the sound of a lot of dead medics here, but he does gain some ground. YellOw moving back half of his Lurker army, buying time again because he knows the Guardians may be able to bring him into a very strong position here, because BoxeR just simply doesn't have, at this current moment in time, any answer for them. They're going to start chipping away at these SCVs, and they're just so high superiority range fighters. Turrets can't save these SCVs. He needs answers with air, perhaps Wraiths or Irradiates, but he just doesn't have them.
Yeah, and with Ultralisk coming out here, that's when the army is beefy enough. It can take on basically anything. We see the medics are going to be cleaned up here, and with no mining expansion, I gotta say, I think YellOw should be taking this game.
Yeah, hyper-aggressive attacks, catching the vessels consistently, picking off the Marines, and this is not going to be very cost-efficient, obviously. Just 2 Ultras isn't going to be enough. Picks off a few of those medics, but all he needs to do is pull back to his better economy. He's now taken a 5th base on the map. As mentioned before, it's all controlled by Nidus. We're going to see the Eraser here to kill these Guardians, but the damage has already been done.
This is the Eraser technique where you irradiate your own vessels, because only bio units take damage from Irradiate. And then what you do is you move the vessels and try to bump them into the other units and damage them, but it doesn't look like BoxeR is microing intensely enough, so the race will be the conclusion. to fix this expansion over here. But I gotta say, I don't think BoxeR has much more time in this game if he does not manage to get a third base up. And if you look at the bottom of the map, YellOw's in control of basically everything. And with not just Defilers in play, but Ultralists as well, it's very different in a head-to-head fight for the Terran to ever come out on top.
Yeah, this is we're looking at YellOw's vision specifically. That's why the map looks so dark. And he knows that he's basically got BoxeR contained right now. He sees the drop ship, and so he's got this massive control on the map, and BoxeR's just struggling to somehow get another Bioforce and move across the map. But we have the Nice, as we talked about. Defiler tech has been out for a long time. We've got Ultras and even Greater Spire. So all YellOw needs to do is take the safe, slow approach to finishing this game, and he should have it. Just dealing with these drop ships, and now moving in for the kill blow.
Okay, we have Marines here, but not enough medics. Irradiates are going down, but when the Ultras come in here, they will have to kite backwards. The Lurkers now coming forward. They will have premium position over this expansion. The SCVs need to be evacuated, and I believe this is the beginning of the end of this game.
There it is, GG. BoxeR defeated by longtime rival here, YellOw, in our first game. He went for a hyper-aggressive tech style, went for the Vulture drop, which did a lot of damage, but as you mentioned, the counterattack did a lot more. And even though the counterattack with the Hydras did do massive economic damage, it allowed the space for YellOw to take the bottom left third base. And he took the economic lead. The engages in the middle of the map were very much better for YellOw. He got the vessel count low, oftentimes with those Scourges. And I think the turning point, of course, was that kill on that army where he surrounded it, both sides there, right outside of YellOw's base, killed the majority of the Marines. The medics alone couldn't fight and couldn't even get home. And now we're going to go into a second game, but YellOw looks to be very pleased with his performance.
It is packed down here on Guangali Beach. We're going to go into the rematch now of Slayers BoxeR versus YellOw, all being played for the first time we've ever seen in StarCraft Remastered. Let's see if BoxeR goes for an actual bunker rush instead of faking it, and if YellOw sticks to an orthodox playstyle and manages to come out on top.
Okay, this is going to be Outbreaker. So one of the things to talk about is this is a new version of Outbreaker that was used, I say new, but it was used 15 years ago in Panasonic Olympics and MyCube. So a map that's very old and was played in the era of BoxeR and YellOw. So it's a map they're very familiar with, but newer players and newer fans of Brood War watching 2010 plus, or you're like a fan of Stork, you watch 2007, you might not know this map, but it's an old one, and it's cool to talk about how, even though the game wasn't updated through balance patches all the time, the game was balanced through maps. And so that's why some of these old maps are phased out, but still relevant today.
Okay, we're moments away from getting into this game. Let's see if BoxeR tries to go for something more aggressive, less sneaky than he did in game number one here. YellOw, though, definitely riding a high after taking out his rival. So far, so good for him. Again, guys, tell your friends to join us. StarCraft Remastered will be available in the next over the next 2 weeks in PC cafes all throughout South Korea, and after that, it will be out for the public, for the common nerd. That's you, guy at home.
Indeed. Well, BoxeR's family is in the audience. They are watching. Can he bring this one back? That's the big question. As it looks like our game is finally up and loaded, Tasteless.
We're going into this. I cannot wait. I do hope we can see more of that classic bunker rushing coming in here from Slayers BoxeR. Anyways, we're ready. Let's do this. Slayers BoxeR versus YellOw. Oh, I guess we're not going to go into it yet.
We got the call, we were jumping into game, but perhaps there was a glitch in the matrix and we were told the wrong information. But still, I'm really enjoying the play that we're seeing. It feels reminiscent of these two, their old rivalry. Just watching Lurkers kill Marines and Medics in HD, watching the micro, of course, of those vessels. This is such an iconic matchup. It's the matchup that I think a lot of fans really resonate with because it harkens back to a lot of the grand finals we've seen from Star Leagues, from Pro League. And it's cool to see how micro-intensive it is, the decision-making that's still shown from these players who haven't played the game professionally in basically a decade.
Well, one thing to note when we see these fights in a Terran versus Zergus, it's so hard for both sides to control their army. It really is. If you have ever tried moving 6 or 7 control groups of Marines and Medics along with a vessel and trying to have synergy and some kind of symbiosis with the army without misstepping just one time and going over lurker spikes. And the same is true for the Zerg. You have all these lings and lurkers. You're trying to set up flanks. You're trying to set up traps. You have to get this clunky Defiler over there and get the Dark Swarm set up.
It's so frustrating when you're trying to chase a vessel with Scourge, right? You feel like you just almost got it. He takes the slight angle. Your Scourge miss it and do the kind of patrol animation where they go to the side. You just barely miss it. And you're so close, you're on the chase, and the Marines gun down your Scourge, and you're like, oh, I was microing this so hard, but he was on top of it. I've lost these units now. Or as a Terran, when you feel like you finally have the flank, you use those 6 control groups, your 1A, 2A, 3A, 4A, 5A across the map, and suddenly a Dark Swarm comes from an angle you didn't expect. There's hold position lurkers under there. You lose all your army. You're so focused, but still, everything changes in an instant.
Yeah, it's a funny matchup because things can turn upside down in a second. Anyways, this is not a drill. We are actually ready for the second game. Slayers BoxeR versus YellOw. Let's find out if BoxeR can get his revenge or if YellOw's going to come out with a 2-0 lead. All right, we're on. In the upper right, in the YellOw, our Terran player, Slayers BoxeR. And his opponent down here in the bottom right, in the purple, YellOw.
Well, you know, we started this game at exactly as a joke that Korean commentators made at 22-22, 10-22, and YellOw taking the lead. He's known for being number 2. You read that in a 24-hour time, the 22-22. It feels like it's all favoring YellOw. The lines are coming together for him. But we'll see if BoxeR wants to bring us out with a aggressive 2-Rax proxy or, you know, some sort of more aggressive bunkering, pulling more SCVs here, because just historically speaking, he's always done this. You know, we thought we might see it in the last game, but he faked the pressure instead. With his back against the wall here now, down 0-1 though, will he be able to commit? That's the question on this map that hasn't seen play in so long, Tasteless.
And we're still waiting to see where Slayers BoxeR is going to spend his money, because for the time being, I don't see SCVs in the middle of the map, and I do not see a barrack, so it seems like he's been a little bit late here with his first depot.
Yeah, actually might even lose a little bit of build time on that second SCV, as seen here. Looks like he wants to go ahead and build the barracks here very quickly after the depot. It's a more economic approach, I guess you could argue. I think it might have been a mistake as well, but he gets a little bit more money from the late SCV, but he loses the money. Like, because he didn't send the SCV to build a depot right away, he mined maybe 2 or 3 more minerals, but it's less significant than having the extra SCV that he's now missing.
One thing to note is that I think because of the later barracks, I don't think we see a bunker rush. So much of a bunker rush is hinged on a matter of seconds, and even sometimes like a half a second or a quarter of a second. So BoxeR may actually go for a macro game here. Now, YellOw seems to be completely unfazed by anything that happened in the previous game. He's getting his natural expansion up here. We'll see a spawning pool go down next, and then either a third hatch or Vespian gas, depending on what rate he wants to tech at.
Notice he also sends the drone scout across, so even though he's unfazed about what we saw in the last game, he plays safe. Both games, he sent the drone scout out. He had drones to protect against the initial SCV, was not willing to allow BoxeR to even phase him with the bunker rush, and respected it heavily. Now he's going to have the early SCV scout. He sees where the SCV is coming from, doesn't even have to commit his overlord, so BoxeR is going to proxy a factory, not the barracks in the middle of the map.
Okay, so this is not particularly normal, but the idea is centered around the fact that the overlord may try to come in here and take a peek at what's going on, and because of the scouting paths that the overlords usually take, they don't really cross the center. Not necessarily, and even if Zerg were to check the center, they would have done it earlier to check for the barracks, not for the factory. So he may make vultures from here, I believe.
That's probably the case, right?
Usually when I've seen people do this, they make 2 factories in the middle, but it looks like he might want to stick with 1. Now, at the same time, YellOw comes inside of Slayers BoxeR's base, looks around, and the lack of structures is information in of itself, right?
Yeah,
Clearly he's hiding something.
Yeah, where is your second barracks or where's your CC? You don't have either, but you have a gas. So knowing you have a gas, there has to be a factory somewhere, right? And the drone's going to go directly to the middle of the map and scout this immediately because he says, well, of course you have this, right? Of course you've simply hidden this in the middle of the map. Why would you have the gas and no factory in the main? So the Vulture proxy now scouted. YellOw has the advantage in terms of knowledge of this, but he still has to defend it.
Now this expansion set up in a bit of an odd way, and we're about to see this. See, he's going to beat me to it. You can actually go up the ramp and still hit the drones from the high ground, whereas you can't on a lot of other maps, which allows you to get pretty abusive early on. But if the Zerg handles it well at all, the Terran's in an awkward spot. The factory is, of course, in the middle of the map, which means you can't safely produce tanks from there later on.
Looks like he sent the Vultures to the top, actually, just trying to clear out any perhaps hidden bases or any other drone scouts. Will now look for the run home here. The factory is lifted. He's sending it back. He has double barracks, just wants to tech up to Bio, but he's not going to have the CC. He's not going to have the extra economy with this, and his rush has essentially failed. It's not a fully wasted investment, but he didn't get the damage done he wanted to, just simply by the fact that it was scouted. Now, the Vultures are going to look for this high ground, but Hydras are already ready. He's known about this for so long. He knows this is the map he's going to be playing against BoxeR, so Vultures come up here. Now they're kind of trapped. They should be able to get out here. In fact, they want to take this Hydra down with them. But a good response from YellOw.
Okay, good control here by Slayer's BoxeR. Looks like he should be able to get out with those Vultures. The problem is, for Terran, is what is the follow-up here? It's annoying for the Zerg to try to play catch-up here. Notice he's got a trap set up here. He's going to be able to box in these Vultures eventually.
Very difficult to do, though.
Yeah, well, you know, they're so nimble. It's so easy for them to run away. But I think eventually this is going to get cleaned up. This one Vulture on the right should be gunned down. And then we have the Hydras blocking the ramp. So it's just a matter of time. And then, of course, what is the proper follow-up for Terran? A handful of Marines. We don't have any...
he has
we have medics coming out now.
Yeah,
but honestly, if Terran doesn't do a lot of damage with this style of play early on, Terran just should be in a deficit. But I think the way that Slayer's BoxeR is approaching it is because there's a ramp up to the above area of the natural, he can try to punish him that way.
I think what he wants to do is just get this high ground control, but he has to wrestle with these first group of Hydras. Right now, we do see YellOw struggling to get units out in time, wants to control his high ground, wants to prevent this here. Okay, we're going to see this first fight. This is not enough ground units here for the Zerg.
He had Hydras for the Vultures, but he doesn't have Lurkers for the Marines.
Yeah, doesn't have a lot of links either.
I think he might just get it in time. This is a very specific timing attack. It caught YellOw off guard, despite the Vultures being handled. The Marine push coming through right here may end up shutting down this game here for YellOw.
He's going to go ahead and take out this hatchery here. He had the answer, as you said, for the Vultures, but the Hydras, especially in low number like this, not going to be the answer for the Marines and Stim. He's going to try to have this last-ditch attempt, but look at this, the Stim back, the medics to heal, that extra Stim damage. The hatchery will absolutely go down. I think this is the beginning of the end.
I don't see any Lurkers in sight. I think that on some level, YellOw actually assumed it was going to be continued mech play.
He said, you're so fast.
BoxeR duped him. That's going to be it. GG. BoxeR gets his revenge.
Said, wow, your timing attack, your follow-up was so fast, is what he says. So at least I suppose that gives us a hint that he knew that that was going to be the follow-up, but still couldn't stop it. Didn't have a sunken ready there. And BoxeR's family going to be happy with this. His wife raises his daughter into the crowd as he brings back the 1-1. And what a crafty build.